This is Andrew Bosin. I'm a tech startup lawyer located in New Jersey, represent early stage companies, entrepreneurs, and founders who incorporate in Delaware or are contemplating incorporating in Delaware. This video is for information purposes only. I'm not offering legal advice. If you want legal advice, I will give you my phone number at the end of the video and you can call me. Purpose of my video is to really talk about the Delaware incorporation process from 50,000 feet and then what happens afterwards. I get a lot of calls every month from entrepreneurs who have either used a do-it-yourself incorporation site, maybe they've paid a couple $100, they've incorporated, and most times what they send me is a mess. There's no legal advice. They got the wrong par value. They didn't get enough shares. There's no sole incorporator document. There's no unanimous consent of the board document. And why I say all this is because it's not enough just to hire a DIY or pay a DIY do-it-yourself site to incorporate you. There's a lot of legal work that needs to be done at the time of incorporation or right after, and your incorporation needs to be right. Your chances are you're not getting legal advice from a do-it-yourself company, and you're probably not getting the right par value. You're probably not getting enough shares. You got to make sure that you or someone else is put on the board in the sole incorporation document. So, I try to tell, individuals that call me that yes, I'm a lot more money, but I think my packages are very reasonable, but you're going to get not only incorporated properly, you're going to get all the legal documents that happen afterwards. And why I say this is because things are going to happen quickly. You're going to create intellectual property. You're going to find people. You're going to have co-founders. You're going to want to enter into agreements. You're going to want to protect your IP, and you're going to want to give equity away. Well, you better incorporate. You better get this all in black and white, because if you don't get it in black and white and a co-founder invents something, that co-founder can walk away with that intellectual property, and there's just not much you can do about it. There's no agreements assigning that intellectual property to the company. So for companies that are growing rapidly, taking on a lot of founders or key hires or people that can do development or sales, I always recommend a Delaware C Corp. Now, that's not absolute, and I would need to speak with you first before I would go out and have you incorporate in whatever state or Delaware to make sure that Delaware incorporation is right for you. But that's pretty much my playbook. If you're going to start a company and it's just you and one other person, you have enough capital, and you don't anticipate bringing anybody else on, you're not going to hire anybody else, yeah, an LLC is probably okay. But if you're going to bring on more people, raise capital, you want the flexibility that Delaware C Corp gives you to quickly and efficiently issue more shares and also attract investors. So what happens after you incorporate? Typically, if someone calls me, I use a third-party incorporation company that has helped me with both of my SaaS Delaware companies. I've probably referred at least 100 clients to them. And what they do is they'll get you incorporated. Delaware's a little backlogged, so they'll recommend paying a little extra to get expedited basis. They'll do the certificate of incorporation. They'll get you your shares. And they'll also do the sole incorporator document, which basically is handing the company off to you as the sole. Let's say you incorporate by yourself or with others, but you're the sole board member, which then enables me to draft unanimous consent of the board of directors, which you would sign or another founder would sign along with you if they're on the board. And why this is all important is because if the incorporation is not done properly, or you don't get enough shares, or the par value is incorrect, you have to go back to Delaware to correct these things. And that's going to cost you money, and it's going to cost you time. What I also do is the company that I recommend using for incorporation, they send you a form. I go over the form with you. I help you fill it out, and I give you my recommendations as to how many shares you should get based upon you explaining your company to me and what the par value should be. Continuing along, I would draft for each shareholder a restricted shareholder agreement with vesting. I would recommend vesting. Each person would get an IP assignment agreement, so all the IP is assigned to the company. So if someone leaves, this hopefully prevents them from taking the IP and stealing it or helping a third party or themselves and setting up a competing company. There's also an indemnification agreement, an IRS ADB 36, and there's also what I told you before, the unanimous consent of the board. That's in my package for Delaware startups. When I refer you to the incorporation company, you pay them directly to incorporate, get your shares, get your tax ID number, and to use their registered agent services. My process is fluid. It's relatively painless. It's quick. I've got this down to a science. That's why my Delaware startup package for one shareholder is $950. Plus, you're paying the incorporation company to incorporate, get your shares, get a tax ID number, and use their registered agent services. No matter where you're located, if you're in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, or anywhere else in the country, I can help you. Please call me Andrew Bosin for Delaware Incorporation at 201-446-9643.